talk to me a little bit, Steve, about the music scene in general. You touched on it in Dayton, and I mentioned how, I was really oblivious to it as a scene, growing up, even though I was a fan of all the bands, I didn't really know what it was like there. So what was it like growing up there? What's it like being there today? And, why do you think it is such a funk hotbed? And obviously we have the Hall of Fame that's going to open there pretty soon, which is very cool.
Definitely. It was so cool because, first of all, let me step back and say James Brown came to Ohio, King Records, Bootsy, Catfish. He got these younger guys in his bands. So I'd say the first thing that happened was James Brown comes to Ohio. And of course, the great Sugarfoot Bonner, Leroy Sugarfoot Bonner, rest in peace, is out of Hamilton, moved to Dayton. Roger Troutman, also out of Hamilton, and the Troutman family moved to Dayton, which isn't very far from the Cincinnati area, Hamilton. And so you had this excitement because of James Brown coming to Ohio and using a lot of Ohio cats in his band. And that was an explosion for us. The Ohio players who had been playing along, I think they were doing things with, let's see. Oh, they were backing up artists coming up before everybody knew them as the Ohio players, the Ohio Untouchables. Wilson Pickett, people like that. So the scene was starting to get more interesting because of James Brown. Then the Ohio players started to make a move, and the next thing you know, boom, the Ohio players hit Pain, the song Pain, and it just blew up. And it was so original and unique. And all of the rest of us like, wow, that came out of Dayton. That wasn't Cincinnati. That wasn't the Isley Brothers. This came out of Dayton. And Dayton is significantly smaller than Cincinnati and Cleveland, and even Columbus as well. So, for the Ohio players to hit, it just blew everybody's mind. And so we had all these bands in garage bands, right? And we set out to feel like we could get it done as well, not to try and sound like the Ohio players, but to be unique the way the Ohio players were unique in our own right. And so it was exciting. There were bands everywhere. The Battle of the Bands, like I said, were incredible, the talent shows. And then all of a sudden, more and more, another act would become national and international out of Dayton, and it just mushroomed. And then the next thing you knew, we're now in the mid 70s and early 80s, and we were like all over the charts together. You'd have Lakeside, Slave, Zap, Ohio Players, Phaser, all these guys. We'd all be on the charts together, as we had also done these battles in the Battle of the Bands and talent shows. So it was amazing to see what we were able to do to make it to the next level. And then we'd all do shows and see each other and go, yo, man, you remember back when, from the Lakeview Palladium or Roth High School, which was one of the places that had the Battle of the Bands. So that atmosphere was electric. Today, now that this thing has happened and notoriety is coming to the Dayton scene, it's exciting to know now that people have found out about us, like Detroit, Motown, Minneapolis, the whole Minneapolis sound, Prince and Flight Time and those guys, Jimmy Jam and those guys, of course, Muscle Shoals out there in Alabama, Memphis, now Dayton, people are going, man, what happened in Dayton? What was in the water there? And I say, man, it was James Brown happened in Cincinnati, and the Isley Brothers, and boom, and Ohio players hit, and we all got excited. And the thing about Dayton funk doesn't sound like one group that everybody sort of vibes off that sound. What's unique about Dayton is the fact that none of the acts, the national, international acts with all the hits, none of those groups sounded like. We totally all had our own concept. but the Ohio players influenced us all to be different, not to be like them. And I think that's one of the powerful things about the Dayton sound, especially from such a small area, that none of the acts sound alike.
Do you think any of you realized at that time when it was happening how special it was, or were you just so wrapped up in it, it was kind of the normal to you?
Well, we didn't know just how special it was, but we knew the musicians were really, really good. You could hear good music and good players, and we knew the players coming out of Dayton were just as good as anyone else. But when it blew up, when the Ohio players hit, that just unleashed the monster. So when the Ohio players hit and we were looking at what our contributions could be, we started to believe, yeah, man, something's going on here. So yeah, it took some time, but once the Ohio players hit, and the way they hit, they weren't just, they had hit records, they completely hit and changed the game. Because prior to the Ohio players, Sly and the Family Stones were just killing it. The Ohio players came and they were like the best, greatest black band in the world. I mean, they weren't just good. They were like trendsetters and completely unique. And we sort of judged our own growth by the Ohio players. And so, after a while, we knew we were special. After we started putting some records out and people like going, yo, that's crazy. Like the great band Lakeside said, the land of funk, Dayton, Ohio.